What's happening? So I want to have a conversation real quick. Let's speak some knowledge because recently somebody made a comment to me towards calling me a Tether and all that kind of stuff. And I know y'all probably been hearing all this stuff from the whole Luke thing. The rest of y'all who do not know, Luke and Tariq Nasheed got into a whole big old thing, and he started calling him all kinds of names. And so they kept trying to say Luke was a Tether because he's half Jamaican. And it kind of got to me. This makes absolutely zero sense from a historical standpoint. My father's side from the Carolinas, my mother's side from Georgia. All right. I know where the plantations were. Like, all that kind of stuff is all there. Like, you can always check your line. But this whole little thing about being a Tether is problematic because it makes absolutely zero sense. And just so you know, it's the FBA, which are like the foundational Black Americans, and then the ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. First off, and most important, my history did not start off in enslavement. All right. No Africans did. All right. So if you already are saying that that's going to be your main focal point is enslavement, then that's already a whole nother separate issue that you need to worry about. Second, what they're saying is if you were from the Caribbean or somewhere else, then you don't understand. It's just different. And we know that there is some inner beef sometimes between Caribbeans will act as opposed to towards Americans, just like with some Africans, some Nigerians and all that kind of stuff. And then there are also Americans who act that way, because let's not act like the first insult I ever heard told was the African booty scratcher. Where'd that come from? That wasn't from them. So anyways, because this Tether thing makes absolutely zero sense, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, the person who really tried to bring it up and thought he was really doing something, because I was like, it don't affect me, I don't care. But then I started thinking about it and I had to educate him one. He was like, I'm from Georgia, cornbread, from Georgia. And the first thing I thought about was, does this person who is claiming all this foundational Black this and that not realize that 40% of all the enslaved who were brought over came from the Caribbean to Georgia? 40% of those people came through the Caribbean, which means that there's some Caribbean in your lineage. Now, if you just want to really cut off and say, oh, well, that don't count anymore because they're here when they first had that first child, which is obvious, which means you're doing a lot of hoops to be able to make it so you can be in a bucket to be separate from somebody. But I started thinking a little further. This is very reminiscent of when white was created, what they did before they learned about political power. Because let's not forget, it was all about nationalism. Because the Italians weren't white. The Irish weren't white. None of these people were. It was British only. And then all of a sudden they start realizing they were getting overpowered, overrun. There were other people, and they start realizing, and they say, hey, if we want to keep power, we need to start bringing these other people who look like us in. And that's what they did. Italians are very much different people from Polish, but yet they saw that the political power and the social power and everything else was going to be, we have to be unified. But you got these FBA folks who don't want to do that. That's just too much. Like, right, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be inclusive, even though we came over here together. All right. There were already some people of dark skin who were already here, and there were new people who were brought here, and they mixed and all this other kind of stuff happened. But then on top of that, since we want to talk about Tether, let's talk about some real stuff. Since you want to start with enslavement, how is it then that you explain the natives? Because a whole lot of natives helped Africans or enslaved Americans get away. And let's not act like they weren't, making babies and doing certain stuff like that. So how do you explain that? Or how do you explain the women and the men, but the women who are raped and have this half-breed baby, this mixed baby? And just because that mixed baby went off and then got with another person who was darker skinned, now it's kind of like washed out, they're a little bit darker now, but that baby was still mixed. That baby still has that white blood in it, or that Irish blood, or that whatever blood. There are Black people with freckles and stuff like that who have white in them. Then there are also those who do not, but I'm just saying, genetics is hard, man. And for y'all to sit up here and want to take every opportunity to segregate yourself out of your community shows me that, you're the Tether, because you're not connected to none of the rest of this stuff here for real. You're connected by a singular line that you think is the end all be all, enslavement. So if you think that enslavement is your only right to Blackness, you've already lost. You already gone. You are the Tether. And that's, again, it doesn't mean anything, but let's really think about that, because no one else is doing that. Does that not mean that we aren't human, that there aren't people who, I'm not Caribbean, but I'm saying, but there aren't humanistic things? Yes. I'm from the south side of H-Town. We talk funny about people from Dallas. That's the same state. Do you think a person in Georgia or Connecticut or somewhere cares about that? We all Texans. But we know interstate-wide, there's a little beef here and there. Not like negative beef, but you know what I'm saying. So why is it that you all feel as though you can now take this that's supposed to be a regional little thing, us people here versus that, who, rah, rah, SEC style beef to heart? And then to start trying to denigrate and remove yourself from our own other people? Like I said, if you're from Georgia, 40% of the enslaved who made it there came through the Caribbean. Do you think they was passing up all them Caribbean islands to get to Louisiana? The only place that wasn't really connected to the Caribbean is South Carolina. Well, North Carolina, Charlotte. But that didn't mean that they weren't still stopping. That does not mean that the Gullah Geechee and all these other people weren't still mixed of other things. So help me understand how it is that you found the need to call somebody a tether when the only person who seems to have lost their connection to blackness and all that it entails in the unique cornucopia of it all is you. It seems like you cut your own line because you were not part of this to begin with. So that would make you the tether. Oh, and what I don't want to leave out is like Tariq Nasheed. Now, I don't know this man. I mean, other than what I've seen online, stuff like that. And I never knock a person for their hustle unless it becomes a problem. But all these other people and stuff like that, what it seems to me to be is a lot of this stuff is a grip. And I know everybody gonna get mad. They don't come and try to trash me and all that kind of stuff. And again, this is social media. This stuff ain't real anyway. Couldn't care less. But what I will say, why I say it's a grip, I'm not saying he shouldn't do his money, but it's like a whole shroud of blackness for the sake of capitalism, where they're not doing anything. They're just talking and getting people riled up, so therefore you can sell a product. Because everybody was talking about Luke ain't never did nothing but bring debauchery into music and stuff like that. Whoa. He made it so people who, the biggest art form, rap music, people can say whatever they wanted on records. That is something that in this actual American society, United States of America, the settler state, Luther Campbell of Two Live Crew managed to get it where people can say on record whatever they wanted. What has Tariq Nasheed done? Policy-wise. It goes just back to the whole third party thing. We start talking about all these people. And again, great people. I'm entertained by them. A lot of the stuff is funny. I'm not saying this man is bad, ill, stupid, none of that kind of stuff. I'm not saying about that. I don't know this person. And I know it's going to be taken out of context. But again. But what I will say is I've noticed that in all of these different people who, and a lot of I love Killer Mike. I love all these people. But it's a lot of, black excellence so I can sell you my liquor. It's a lot of black excellence so I can sell you my product, not black excellence and let's all go out here and organize, unionize, mobilize, and start to create something. Because it's not a movement if it's only for you to benefit financially on. Then it's just capitalism. So when we start talking about tethering and all this kind of stuff, let's go back to where it came from. And I'm not saying he's the originator of that. I'm just saying how it came to me when I started doing my little research, stuff like that. But I know he was very influential in it. And again, not knocking anybody's hustle, but it's just still funny to me. It's very weird to me that this kind of stuff gets to be thrown out there and people just accept it and then don't question where the money is going. How is this beneficial? What tangible, since we always want to talk about tangibles, give me tangibles. What tangible has been created? Because whether you love Luke, hate Luke, or don't even know who Luke is, he created one tangible, and everybody in hip hop benefits from it. So what is the tangible that these other people are doing? Because you must vote. Voting is important. But you got to know more than just voting. Voting is like entering the contest. Now you got to go do the work. You got to go play. You got to go compete. You got to go do all that kind of stuff. So where's everybody else's stuff? And so while you're worried about being a tether and all this kind of stuff and selling merchandise and selling t-shirts and getting all these people riled up, what is it benefiting? Who's gaining from it? How does it help you? And how does it set us free?